And we're back. I don't even know what to call this day because when I go through the final taper, I like to run SBD sessions. That is going to start tomorrow. Today, normally being max for bench day, like it wouldn't be wise to bench today and then start the taper bench tomorrow. So I think the plan for today is just to move around a little bit, get a little bit of a pump, make sure things feel nice, do some active range of motion accessing. I almost said active recovery, but that's not what I meant to say. I basically just want to go through today, do a little bit of moving, loop things up, feel good, get ready to start the final taper tomorrow. So I'm not going to warm up because I don't need to warm up for what I'm doing, because what I'm going to be doing is pretty much a warm up. So let's get rolling. And it's one of those days where like I really don't want to do anything. And one of my favorite strategies on those days is to kind of like rip the Band-Aid off. And Copenhagen dip is usually a pretty decent way to rip off the Band-Aid. And I like to set these up with both the elbow and the knee elevated. That way I can get a little bit more range of motion, get a little bit more adductor length, and then pull up out of that adductor length. And just doing this makes them feel really spiffy. And I don't know if I'll keep the other side in because I don't know, I'll just do the other side. And the reason I like to do these knee supported rather than out of the ankle is like I'm a chubby little guy, and after racing motocross and all of the missing and jacked up ligaments and jacked up meniscus I have in my knees, like I find that I can do them out of the ankle, but if I push them harder out of the ankle, knees tend to get a little bit sloppy feeling, so I just do them at the knee. And if I want to make them harder, I will just grab a kettlebell, and once I get set up, put the kettlebell on the hip, let the leg up, and then boom, we got more resistance, we got more load, we can work a little bit harder, but we're not really doing anything that is going to make my knees feel sloppier than I want them to feel. And like if you're a big dude, or if you're someone who hasn't had success with Copenhagen's, because if you go to the ankle and it jacks at the knees and going at the knee is too easy for you, just put some weight on the hip and it's going to let you make them productive. And if you want to overload them, just get more and more weight, put it on the hip, build it up over time, and those adductors are going to start working better for you. And I'm all fucked up right now because in the order that I normally go through this stuff in, like if I was doing it as a general warm-up on a lower body day, like I'd want to do an incline pigeon in this slot to get the hip ER before I get the hip IR. I don't know why I want to do that, but I just find that the incline pigeons like prime the single leg RDL really well. But every incline bench is occupied right now, so I guess we're doing the single leg RDLs first, or we might just skip the incline pigeons altogether because like on meet day, there's not going to be an incline bench to do them on, so we'll have to learn to make do and be at least a little bit adaptable. But when I'm doing these single leg RDLs, like key things that I'm thinking about is as I'm hinging, I'm trying to pull with the front side. I'm trying to keep that back leg glute squeezed as long as I can. I'm trying to point the toes in to get the adductors going so I can access that hip IR a little bit easier. And then it's a matter of hinging, keeping that back leg tall, squeezing glute up to the top, and just getting a nice, juicy butt cheek pump, and you will accomplish the mission. And these are actually way freaking harder to do when talking. For some reason, like the talking makes the balance exceptionally harder, or at least that's like what I'm telling myself to feel better about the standard to which I am performing these. But glutes are feeling it. Mission getting accomplished. Feeling nice and limber, so they worked. And I was too angry my first couple sets of these, so I'm gonna be a little bit less mean for this extra set. And like extra set ain't gonna hurt, but running these ATG split squats, like people want to say how pointless these are because you can't load them up, the strength curve sucks, and yada 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 yada. But the thing is like the reason I'm doing these is not to put pounds on my squat. The reason I'm doing these is to train vulnerable positions at the knee, train vulnerable positions at the hip, and by training those vulnerable positions and building those vulnerable positions up, I can feel better when I squat, and I can then make my actual strength work more productive. So like, Yes, these are not a good strength builder. Yes, these are not going to be great for quad hypertrophy, but the thing is like, I'm never doing an HIIT split squat for strength or for quad hypertrophy. And like, the people that love whining about how stupid these are, actually a lot of people that love whining about how good they are, they also don't get the point either, because there's a lot of people on both sides of the fence that aren't very strong. And it's like, if you think these are stupid, realize that they're not here to make me strong. Realize they're here to help me make stuff feel good. And if you think that these are the best thing in the world, also realize that they're not very good for making someone strong. And if this is your only strategy to build squat strength, you're probably going to do pretty poorly. So it's like, read between the lines. Not everything is awesome. Not everything sucks. Pretty much everything can have a purpose if you have a good enough reason for putting it in. And the reason I'm putting these in is to access range, train those vulnerable positions, lube up my knees, and make shit feel good. And like, bottom line, everyone that wants to whine about these needs to remember that both Dawson and I squat your fucking total. All right, YouTube, gonna try to film a reel for like the 47th fucking take, so we better get this right. If squats piss off your shoulders and elbows and you can only do one thing for them, this is what I tell you to do. A McLeod fly, which is basically gonna be like the opposite of a face pull, lying face up on a bench with dumbbells. We're gonna be trying to drive the elbows forward as we let the dumbbell carry our shoulders in extra rotation. And loading that position is basically going to exaggerate the rotation demand of the shoulders and the torque on the elbows that the squat bar will place on us. So if we get better at this and build up tolerance here, pretty soon the squat bar is gonna stop bothering us. And I think I freaking nailed that. So hopefully that works well when I edit. Anyways, more reps. These feel good. And like, it is no joke. Like, my elbows and shoulders used to suck so much on the straight bar to the point where I was legit afraid of squatting with the straight bar, and getting better at these made that 100% go away. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. And I guess we'll give ourselves a nice little titty pump now. Emphasis on little, because definitely not gonna try to push these hard at all. Just want to really just make sure the pecs feel good for tomorrow and good through the rest of the week. Give them a little bit of stretch, open things up. And again, like, it's the end of meet prep. Like, shit doesn't need to be hard. I'm not trying to get stronger. I'm just trying to feel good. And we're pretty close to having done enough to feel good here. So yeah, that's good for set one. Shake her out for 30 seconds and get back in her. Shook her out, right back in. Oh yeah. And I mean, I've said this a bunch, but I'm gonna say it again. It is so cool to do these and feel how good that left pec feels, because it's like, it's working. Like, it's working freaking fantastically. And like, yeah, like, at this point, if I didn't know that I had my pec ripped off and reattached, I wouldn't know that I had my pec ripped off and reattached, which is actually quite confidence inspiring going into this meet. And that's enough here. And I figure we're here, might as well spin around and get a little bit of rear delts into the mix. And doing them bilateral today just because I don't want to take a ton of time doing rear delts. Like, it's probably not as fantastic because of the range of motion reduction due to the bilaterality of this. But again, it's like, all I need to do right now is just do enough to get shit to feel good, and we're about there. Shake her out, get back into it. All right, round two. I'll admit it, I took a little longer than 30 seconds rest there. Got distracted, but we're back, we're in it. We're doing our rear delt flies. We're getting that nice pump. Making stuff feel good. And like, this is such a freaking hard session to mentally get through, because like, none of this is exciting. None of this is fun. None of this is getting me fired up to do it. But I also know that, like, if I don't do this shit today and I just stayed home and laid on the couch, I would feel stiff as shit tomorrow, and I don't want to feel stiff as shit tomorrow. So we're here, we're moving, we're getting shit done, even if it isn't exciting. And I was talking to one of my clients about this today, but when she's benching, her mid-back looks a little bit soft. And I mean, like, not like soft as in like flabby because she's jacked as shit, but like her lats kind of right next to the rib cage in the mid-back don't look like they're really doing their job when she's pressing. And what I ended up putting in the plan for this next week is a mid-grip neutral pull down where we're really trying to keep the chest tall. And like, as I was thinking about that, I was like, I feel like I could use a little bit more of that as a tune-up this week. So we are running some of those tonight just to try to wake that shit up. And it's actually feeling surprisingly awake. So maybe I didn't need this, but it still feels good. And like, this like low lat along the rib cage, along the spine feel is what I'm trying to like replicate on my bench. So I don't know, good enough call for today if the only goal is to just make stuff feel good and you get a nice little pump. And that's enough for that set. I'm gonna try to let it go a little bit more at the top this set, get a little bit more stretch, and then still pull chest tall as I go down. And like, I've had a few comments asking like, how low should you go on a lat pull down, like referencing how I'm not really pulling that low. And my goal with a lat pull down, if I want to keep it in a lat, is to pull as low as I can without needing to like drop the chest, dump the shoulder blades forward. Because if I'm dropping chest, dumping shoulder blades forward, that is no longer the lats working. And I want to make sure that I'm putting the work where I want the work to go. Is that a that's what she said? That might be a that's what she said. I don't know. Can't think right now. And like, when it comes to most accessory work, like, I want to have a good reason for why I'm picking the movement that I'm picking. And like, those pull downs, the ATG split squats, the single leg RDLs, like, all of those, like, I have a specific intent that I'm trying to accomplish. But when it comes to these push downs, I'm really just doing them because I want a tricep pump today. And this is gonna, you know, scratch that tricep pump itch. They're not super hard. They're not gonna bang anything up. And again, like, at the end of meet prep, they're gonna do the job for that. So, tricep pump city, population Seth. Oh yeah. I don't know, now it's just awkward. I thought the set was gonna be over sooner, but we're getting there. There we go. And we had an extended rest time there because Miana wanted me to take pictures of her, so we're gonna put some more weight on the stack. Did you hear the shutter on this thing? Does that sound sick? And I don't think we're feeling spunky enough or have the need to go full stack on the push downs today, but we're working just a little bit. Not hard, definitely not working hard, but enough to get the job done, enough to accomplish the pump, but no more than that, because any more than that is going to be unnecessary at like 9 days out, 10 days out. I forget how many days out I am. I'll remember how many days out I am when I write the YouTube title. Well, I'll get the calendar out and figure that out. There we go. And I know I usually run those cable hip flexor raises on my Fridays, but hips are feeling really good. I liked what these did for me sensation-wise through the low back the last time I ran them, so standing abs once again, and same thing, hips lock at the top, lead with rib cage, pull on in, get some decent little rectus abdominis work, and yeah, these are sick. Another 10 out of 10 would recommend if you're looking for some new variety in your abdominal training. Like, if you are used to just doing sit-ups for abs, it's like the strength curve on this feels so much more gnarlier than a sit-up because, like on a sit-up, it gets progressively lighter, whereas this, it gets progressively gnarlier on the abs as you pull into the bottom. All right, last set of the day. And the reason I'm saying last of the day is like everything I've done today has actually felt really freaking awesome. Like body feels really good. So I don't need to do any much extra. I basically kind of touched every plane of motion that I need to feel good today, and it all felt good. So, I mean, I'd say we're good to go for tomorrow, good to go for next week, and if we do good next week, we are going to be good to freaking go on meet day. So, am excited at this point. Yeah, sick. And that is that for today. And you know how I know that I freaking nailed this prep? Is the feelings of needing to take a nap all the time are slowly starting to creep away. Like they're still there a little bit, but they're on their way out. And the feelings of like anxiety to smash weight are starting to replace them. And like the best meets I've ever had are the meets where at a week out, like I am freaking ravenous to put something cool in the bar. And like the key point when you feel like this is to not let those feelings take over and not go too heavy through the taper, because if you go too heavy through the taper and you satisfy those feelings, they're not going to be there on meet day and you're going to feel a little bit flat. But like if you can let those feelings build to the taper and just like be like foaming at the mouth to put big weight on the bar, like you're going to have a fun meet day. So that sets me up for the very end of this prep, the taper. And like I talked about at the beginning, I like to do a SBD taper. So plan for tomorrow is just to do squat, bench, and deadlift. Basically do like a trial run of my meet day warm-ups up until like my second last warm-up. Don't need to take a last warm-up. Like at this point in my career, like I don't need a last warm-up. I don't need an opener. I know I'm solid, and I know that if I keep it a little bit lighter, I will feel better meet day. So that is the plan for tomorrow. And like really guys, I'm almost in disbelief with how good things feel right now, which in a way is almost scary because I'm like, what if I fuck it up? But I mean, that's motivation to not fuck it up. So that's what I got for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Peace out. Have a good night.